Let's check out Ableton's compressor. So let's check out Ableton's compressor. I have just a dry break here from the Drive and Glow pack. Let's listen. Okay, let's turn on the compressor. Now, this built-in compressor in Ableton does not come to mimic or emulate any type of hardware compressor, but just gives us all the utilities that we can find on many compressors, and it can do many different things in many different ways. So we're not going to talk in this video about what is compression, dynamic range, and we'll leave that for a different video. But let's just go over all the controls. So if you do understand somewhat how compression works, you can work and know all the controls about this device. So first we have this collapse view right here. We have three views. Let's talk about the collapse view. Right here is the threshold. The signal needs to pass the threshold in order to actually start compressing. So if I bring up the threshold and play the loop, nothing is actually happening. Nothing whatsoever. As I start to turn down the threshold, and the signal passes the threshold, we can see some gain reduction is happening right here. Nice. Now, very importantly, in this compressor, the makeup gain is automatically on. This will compensate for any type of compression of lowering the volume that is actually happening automatically. So let's turn it off so we can manually bring up the lost volume with the output meter right here. And now we can actually hear what the compressor is doing as it's reducing the gain, the volume. This will automatically bring it back up, and this will make sure we do it manually with the output knob, so we can match volumes as we turn on and off the compressor to make sure we're actually doing something we like. Ratio will decide how much the compressor is compressing the signal that is passing the threshold. Let's take it down again. Let's bring up the ratio higher. We can see it's going, the gain reduction is going even lower. If the ratio is on 1:1, no compression is happening whatsoever. Attack is how fast will the compressor reach peak or maximum compression as soon as the signal passes the threshold. Release is how fast does the compressor completely stop compressing after the signal drops beneath the threshold. Now, if I have the threshold very low, we can see that it doesn't have enough time to actually go back up and stop compressing. So let's put it like right here. And now if we bring the release up, it's going to take much slower to go down and stop compressing. But with extremely fast releases, it's going to sound the loudest, but it might also introduce some distortion, so look out with the release. You can also turn on automatic release, which will react to how the compressor, the signal itself, and it's going to change the release time according to the incoming sound. Right here we have knee, and knee will make the compressor start compressing even before the signal passes the compressor. So we can see here the signal not really passing the threshold, but it's still doing something in the gain reduction, and that's because of the knee. So if we bring the knee up, we can see there's a lot of activity happening. This is soft knee, similar to old school vintage compressors. Or if we bring it all the way down to 0, no compression will happen if the signal doesn't pass the threshold. So knee is on by default on 6. So just be aware that you might get some compression even if the signal is not passing the threshold. Okay, let's go to the other views. Here we have the transfer curve, which is just kind of an expanded view over this. It just allows us to also change the threshold with dragging left and right, or the ratio with dragging up and down. And this is a very similar diagram curve to what you would see on many compressors. Lastly, here we have the activity view, which will visualize what the compressor is actually doing. Here we have the threshold, this blue line, and the orange line indicating the gain reduction. So here we can visualize better the ratio of how much we're actually compressing. The attack, how fast does it reach maximum compression. Let's do it a slow attack. We can see it doesn't even have enough time to start compressing all the way. And release, how long does it gonna take to stop compressing from the moment the threshold falls beneath the threshold. Now here is our output meter that went from here, from the side to the top. We can also change what the displaying is displaying, gain reduction or just the output of the signal. So if I take it down, we can see it gets turned down because we turn off the makeup gain. Let's go back to gain reduction. And we can also change the threshold from right here. We have two other controls that are only visible through the transfer curve view or the activity view. And this is look ahead. This will add more latency to the signal. If we hover our mouse over the compressor, we can see on the bottom it has latency 0 samples. We can introduce 1 millisecond or 10 milliseconds. Again, we can see on the bottom it introduces latency. And this will give the compressor some time to prepare for very fast peaks. This might be good in some instances. It will change how the compressor sounds, but this is look ahead, allowing the compressor more time. You'll see that a lot in mastering compressors. Here we also are able to change how the compressor is actually reacting to attack and release. So in linear mode, the only time factors will be the actual attack and release knobs. And in logarithmic mode, peaks, very fast peaks, sharp peaks, will have a faster release time than less compressed material. So things that are passing the threshold in an extended amount will have faster release time than quieter elements that don't pass the threshold. By default, it's on logarithmic. As we mentioned, we have the makeup gain, which will automatically compensate for all the lost volume that the compressor is compressing. We have 3 modes of operation. Peak will work the fastest as it's trying to catch the incoming transient, the signal, immediately as it comes into the compressor. RMS will work much slower and will only react to things that are louder over a longer period of time. And expand will flip how the compressor is working. So instead of reducing the dynamic range, it's actually gonna increase the dynamic range. So everything that is passing the threshold, all the loud elements that are passing the threshold, will actually get boosted up. This might be good in some uses when we need expansions. For example, an old recording of guitar and vocals, and we want to separate even more the vocals from the guitar. We can put an expander assuming the vocals are louder than the guitar, so every time the vocals will play, they will get boosted in volume and thus separating even more than the background element like guitar or noise or stuff like that. Nice. Now we do have the sidechain section. We talk all about the sidechain section in the different videos, so check out all about sidechain compression. In Ableton, part 1 is about the compressor, and we have other parts about other devices like that you can sidechain, like the filter, multiband compressor, multiband dynamics, and so on. So that is the compressor, extremely capable, have a lot of different things you can do with it. If you are using the presets that comes with Ableton the compressor, unlike other devices, other audio effects that you can use presets with, I would recommend to at least adjust the threshold to make sure it fits with whatever signal you're feeding the compressor with. So it's okay to use presets with compressor, but absolutely make sure you at least adjust the threshold to your needs. And that's it.